Hello, hello. Welcome to the Wild Podcast, where we are connecting and empowering women through sports. I'm Jade.
I'm GeNienne Samuels.
And I'm Stephanie Jokian.
And we're going to dive right in. Let's talk about Super Bowl.
Yeah, good game.
Good game, right?
I feel like we haven't had a really good have to stay in your seat or stand up and yell type of Super Bowl
Can't go get
in
the chips.
so many years. And this was the year to do it. I loved it.
Yeah.
Well, the year to do it is when we're in it. But
yes.
Of course.
Yes.
If we can't be there, this was the year for it.
Right.
You know, I will say I was very excited to see former Redskins. We had Fuller and Breland out there really making us proud as Burgundy and Gold alumni. And it gives me hope for what's to come this season.
Yes.
I think there was a lot of talent in there that might not have been explored or maybe overlooked. And that gives me hope for having a new personnel, a new coaching staff to really find that talent. We talked about that last week with the 4-3 and having the talent here. And maybe that's something we can look forward to. It's just seeing maybe there's potential Super Bowlers on this team right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and regardless of the fact that, you know, I feel like we have had players in the past that have left Redskins and gone on to do great things. I really do feel as though this year is the year for us. And I just got really excited seeing the young talent, even with like Patrick Mahomes and like all of his accomplishments and being the youngest quarterback to win MVP for the Super Bowl, winning it for the league in 2018. Like, I feel like we're going to have some really fresh, young, and even seasoned talent on our team. And it just makes me excited for what's to come for the Redskins and for Super Bowl and just some good football because that game was good.
Yeah, and the call to action by our coach, you know, saying we need you to step up and be a leader. I mean, he's going to start requiring that of people, which you have to, and that's the next step for and the reason for the excitement right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I know for me, it's always this toss up, right? So when your team is not in the big game, it's like, well, who do you root for, right? I know. But for me this year, it was without a doubt Kansas City, simply because Sean Barber was the main reason that I ended up coming to the Redskins. We went to elementary, middle school, high school, college together. He ended up getting drafted to the Redskins. I cheered for him. Came to his first game, actually, before I was even a cheerleader. And he went on to leave the Redskins and eventually make it to Kansas City. So I was like, okay, naturally, I'm going to pull for the Chiefs. And it just was a really good game. Really excited for the community there. They haven't won a Super Bowl, what was it, in 50 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
So huge accomplishment, excitement for that city.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and like you were saying, and I think Rivera just said it a couple days ago, we really want Haskins to take that leadership role, that mentality. He has a talent. We need him to kind of step up. And you saw that with Mahomes, the ability to kind of be down, going into the third and fourth quarter and to just do what he knows and play good football. And I think I heard the other day they were saying fortune goes to the daring, and that is exactly what the Chiefs did. And I think that's what we're going to see is fortune's going to go to the bold and those who are going to make some moves this season. So I'm excited for us just based off that Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? He did it time and time again. Every single playoff game that they had, they were down either by 10 points. I think at the most it was 24 points they were down in a playoff game, and they were able to pull out the wins. And so when that happened, on the game and they were down and he was throwing interceptions, at first I was a little like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But then I'm like, wait a minute, they're a comeback team. They're going to come back.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. So we were in Mexico.
Right.
So we were with NFL Mexico, and it was amazing to be there and see just the love of the NFL and all different jerseys being worn. And it was just amazing. But they were telling me there's an urban legend that if you play in Mexico as the away team, you win the Super Bowl. So the Patriots have done it. And now the Chiefs, and I think maybe we should have a discussion about going to Mexico and being the away team.
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
It needs to happen.
I am ready.
Speaking of, let's talk about how entertaining that halftime show was.
Yeah, for me personally, I wanted to be on stage as a backup dancer with them.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
I just felt so much energy and so much pride in their heritage and their culture, but then also their pride in being an American and being in the United States as well. And it just was fun to watch for me.
Yeah.
I just loved it. Unfortunately, there was a lot of controversy about the performance as always.
And their lip syncing. And
Yeah,
And I really loved the fact that they had J-Lo had her daughter on stage.
Yes.
I thought that was a very special touch, especially in having all those young girls. I think it's such a timely discussion and just a great look for them having the Super Bowl. But yeah, as you said, there was a little bit of controversy that I think we should dive into when we have more time, which we'll talk about in overtime because it definitely deserves a conversation.
It's on in overtime.
All right, I think we're going to move into the second quarter, which, as always, we want to meet the players and our roster. So, GeNienne, it's up to you. Let's learn a little bit about you.
Yay. So, grew up total tomboy, believe it or not. I don't even think my parents
believe it.
I know. Like, what? Eyelashes?
A lot of rhinestone. I don't know.
Total tomboy. Both of my parents into sports. My mom, softball player. My dad, track and field runner, turned coach for football and track and field. So all of my sisters and I, sports throughout life.
Okay.
I stumbled into cheerleading my sophomore year when my teammate in indoor track asked me to skip practice to go to cheerleading tryouts with her. I did it.
Good friend.
I made the team. She didn't. The rest is history. Kind of felt bad about it. But that's where I found my love for cheering and entertaining and realizing that it truly was a sport. So when I went to college, University of Richmond, cheered there for 4 years. Co-ed stunt team, got thrown around, was a lot of fun. We won the small co-ed division at UCA in Disney. So huge accomplishment for our team there. And like I said, I ended up, graduating from college at the University of Richmond, came up here to be a big girl and worked for Bell Atlantic as a software engineer. And my friend Sean Barber the next year got drafted to the Redskins.
Wow.
And that's when I attended my first game at FedEx Field, was sitting in the nosebleed section with my mom, fell in love with the first ladies of football. And so that next season I decided I was going to try out. I don't know how I made it. I had bushy eyebrows. I had on the worst outfit ever. But Donald Wells at that time saw something in me, and that's, kind of where it all began for me. And as you all know, just as professional dancers, you have professional careers. So I was also, a full-time software engineer at Bell Atlantic, which eventually became Verizon, became a manager there for their quality and process improvement department. Went on to start my own business. So I'm actually have been on my own, an entrepreneur since 2007.
Good for you.
Thank you. Awesome. Huge accomplishment for me. So, kind of mixing my passion with process improvement and consulting, but also the love of dance. So I also started Sideline Prep, where I help young women become professional cheerleaders. So really excited to be able to kind of help other women aspire to be and eventually accomplish that goal of being a professional cheerleader. Danced 8 years with the Redskins under you, Stephanie, then also danced for the Wizards, where I met you, Jade.
Yes.
So many connections, so many passions, traveled overseas, military tours, went to so many different countries supporting our troops.
And then talk about what you're doing now. Now you're back in the stadium.
FedEx Field.
Yes,
At FedEx
I'm
Field.
back home, and it feels so good. It feels so good. When I was with the Wizards, I ended up being the in-game host for a couple of years with them, and ended up having the opportunity to audition for the position with the Redskins.
Yeah.
And so I just completed my first season as the in-game host for the Redskins, and it's been absolutely amazing. And now honored to be here on this podcast with you all. And I really do feel like the Burgundy and Gold is my home.
Yeah.
And I love just the fans here. They are diehard. They love this organization. They love our coaches. They love our team, and they love our cheerleaders. And that's what I just really love the passion behind it all.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just amazing. Your story, you're so humble about, I don't know why I made it, but there's a reason why you've succeeded in everything that you've done. And so it's nice to watch you just pursue your passion and be successful, and kind of as you become successful, you bring everybody around you. So whether it's inspiring women who are wanting to audition or wanting to get into TV, or just wanting to, talk to you about your path and how you did it and how you were courageous. So thank you for just always lifting up others.
Thank you.
And I will
Yeah,
say we talked
appreciate
about it last week on our podcast about sitting the elevator back down, and you are the epitome of what that means. Your role now is to take all your success and your wisdom and help others reach that. And I think that's remarkable, and we're very lucky to have you on the show and in our lives for sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, and a lot of people do contact me about any and everything, whether it's starting a business, going into being a reporter and anchor, because I'm doing that now as well, being an in-game host, becoming a professional cheerleader. And yeah, so I'm here. I'm here to absorb and, send that information out as well. So thank you, ladies. I appreciate it.
And with that is a close on the second quarter, and we are going to head into a timeout. Sign up for the FanDuel now and get $5 in total bonus. Just make sure your first deposit to get started, and you'll get an extra $5 in site credit. Go to FanDuel.com/FFT or download the FanDuel app.
All right, and stay up to the minute with all Redskins news this offseason. Download the official Washington Redskins mobile app. Geographic and device restrictions do apply. Data charges may also apply.
Okay, it's me. And now, some DC travel wisdom. The old saying goes, if you want to go fast, go to Dulles. The airport access highway gets you there from DC in as little as 30 minutes. But if you want to go far, also go to Dulles, where you can fly nonstop to 145 destinations. That's 45% more than any other airport in the region. Find out how else you can travel wisely at flydulles.com/wise, which is where I just flew into yesterday from Mexico.
Welcome
It was
back.
very easy.
It's the start of the third quarter, and we are talking about a topic that needs to be celebrated and discussed. We are celebrating African American History Month all month long. So this week, this podcast, we are going to discuss a little bit of the history and what that means to each of us. And then our next podcast next week, we have a very special guest. We have Melanie Johnson, who is the COO and president of MGM National Harbor.
Yes, sister.
Wow. Yeah, it's
Killing
incredible.
it. So I think, we all know that President Ford, started African American History Month in 1976, but I think we don't realize it was originated even before that in the 20s by an African American educator who started it as a celebration of African American success and honors for a week. And then it's turned into a month, which has been wonderful. But I think, in watching my children learn each, the past couple years, I do feel like we need to expand that curriculum into the current times, that I do hear the same amazing names all of the time, but, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, former President Obama, I would love for them to learn more current people, more real people in our community that can kind of touch their lives and make it seem more real. So we just went to the African American History Museum as well. And there I got to read about many other women that, Fannie Lou Hamer, people that are not talked about all of the time, who spoke out and spoke, and were brave in times that it was scary to be brave, where she was fighting about voting rights and, could have lost her life many times over just trying to be able to have the right to vote, to, be heard and to, help the African American community with that. So I think that if we can expand our learning, even if it's, the tough, Black Lives Matter, right. A lot of people feel very uncomfortable when we talk about that, but that's okay because it starts a discussion and a necessary discussion.
It starts a dialogue for sure.
Right. And I think, too, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, like with Black Lives Matter, yes, the whole all lives matter. But I think that when you learn more about the struggles of all of the different cultures, the ethnicities, then you can start to understand why a hashtag of and a movement of Black Lives Matter actually started, right? Because it does go a lot deeper than what we learn in school and in the textbooks. And there's so many amazing people out there, like Arthur Ashe. I mean, just even in sports, like you think about the fact that there are so many people that are accomplished and paved the way for those that came behind them that we never really hear about. Right? Because there's certain people that we talk about all of the time in the textbooks. And there are not just athletes that are amazing or people that were trying to start movements that were amazing, but also people in STEM, astronauts and just different technology fields that we just don't hear about. So I totally agree that the conversation needs to be expanded.
History, it kind of sounds like, well, that's great. And that happened then and things have gotten better. Well, I don't know necessarily that every decade things have gotten better. Right. And so, like we said, different hashtags, different movements, learning current history, addressing real life, things can kind of say, all right, this is the history. How has it changed? What can we improve on? Yeah. And how can you come back and serve your community after you've learned and maybe gone and accomplished great things, sending that elevator back down to your community instead of just wanting to get out.
And it's important to not celebrate and have this discussion once a year. Fortunately, being a first lady and being a part of the Redskins is we honor diversity. And I'm a part of a team of 36 women that all have different backgrounds, different skin colors and religions and cultures. And it's been a blessing for me to continue to learn, to continue to educate myself because we don't know everything, and it's helped me. I don't know if you guys know this, but my parents adopted an African-American girl when she was 8 into our family. And just to be able for her to read a textbook now and or to be on Instagram and see the discussion with relevant, relatable people and not just celebrating things that are in our past, I think will help her and her generation and really feel accepted. And to have that conversation start is completely it's a necessity right now to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to obviously celebrate it this month, but we need to have that conversation, and not just when it's controversial, not just when there is a hashtag for Black Lives Matter, but that needs to be a continued educational conversation and dialogue.
And I will always say, and again, exposing the knowledge to the women that made an impact too, instead of just the men that have.
Right. And everyone being open to the questions, right? Mm-hmm. Because I remember in college, having a Caucasian roommate. She did not understand why I did not wash my hair every day. Mm-hmm. She did not understand why I was pin curling my hair. Mm-hmm. And she asked me the questions, but felt as though she couldn't. And so, but she really just wanted to understand. And I'm like, literally, if I wash my hair out every day, it will dry out and it will fall out. Mm-hmm. Like, I cannot, so being open to answering the questions and really understanding that those questions aren't harmful and they're not, looking down on us. People just want to know and be aware. And I was raised, white mother, Black father. We were raised as biracial, not to really know race. They didn't tell us we were different. Mm-hmm. I didn't learn I was different until the mean kids at school started teasing me and calling me Oreo cookie and zebra this and zebra that. Mm-hmm. And so I think, communicating and talking about it, especially now because there's so much blending in our culture, it's very, very important in making sure that we acknowledge it and that we're open to the conversations.
And I'm watching that with my kids who are biracial. When we went to the African American History Museum, we went through the train where they had the segregated parts. And afterwards, the woman that worked at the museum was like, so what part of the train do you think you would have sat in? And they were like, what? What do you mean? Like, they couldn't even understand. Like, we would have to pick a side, And she's like, well, no, you would be told that you would be sitting in the African American section. And they were just like, what? So, you're right. Like, we're trying to raise them in a way where we're a melting pot in America now. And I think that we just learn to cherish all parts of our history.
Exactly. And I think, as you discussed, the textbooks need to reflect that. Mm-hmm. Where we are now is not the same place we were then. You have to celebrate where we came from. But also, we're in a more progressive world, a more accepting world, and we need to have that conversation for sure.
Yeah, and we have the best of both worlds. That's what I was always told. My parents were like, you got the best of both worlds. And I feel like this country is the best of all worlds. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what's so wonderful about being here and living here and growing up here. We just need to remember why we're all here. And it's really to just support one another and help one another. And if we all kind of keep that in mind, and we're just kind to one another, I think that's what's most important.
Be good humans.
Yes.
That's what I tell my sister whenever she's having a problem, like, just be a good human.
Be a good human.
Just be a good person. And that is a wrap on third quarter. We are going to head into the fourth quarter where we are talking about a sign up for the Her Story 5K.
Yes. So March is Women's History Month. And so Mayor Muriel Bowser's office, along with her DC Fit team, that's really trying to help DC get active and fit, they planned a 5K run. And it's hashtag Her Story, kind of cute, pun on history. And so WOW is going to be signing up to walk or run. I will be walking, but some people will be running in the race. And so we are going to release a sign up for this weekend. So around February 8th, so that members can sign up, get a shirt, get it customized, and I hope you guys will join me that weekend. But it's March 7th, and that information will be sent out to our WOW members first, and then we'll put it on social media.
Awesome. Well, when you said that we could walk, I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah. I'm like, these knees,
yeah. The years of track and field, cross country, and dancing.
We will walk fast
knees
with a
are
purpose.
Tore to pieces.
Power walk. Yeah. Power walking around.
I'm in.
And that is a whistle on fourth quarter. We are going to head into another timeout. Looking for great tasting food at a great price? Check out the $3.99 sub of the day at Subway, featuring different 6-inch sub each day, like turkey breasts on Wednesdays and the Italian BMT on Thursdays. And of course, every sub of the day is prepared on a freshly baked bread and topped with your choice of fresh veggies. That's one tasty value. The $3.99 sub of the day at Subway, great food, greater price. At participating restaurants, additional charge for extras plus tax, no additional discount or coupons may be applied.
Did you know that your Washington Redskins are sponsored by Coke Industries? That's KOCH, Coke. Their 67,000 U.S. employees make a lot of things that make game day better. Greener turf, they make that. Stronger paper products for tailgating, guess what, guys? They make that. Oh, and electronic components and TVs and smart devices so you can watch a Redskins victory anywhere? Yeah, Coke makes that too. See all they make for on and off the field at KOCHmakesthat.com.
All right, you know what time it is.
party
Dance
time.
party time.
Yeah,
It's overtime. We touched on it earlier, but we are going to talk about the halftime show that has been getting a lot of feedback, both positive and negative, and I want to get everyone's take on it.
So my initial reaction, I was actually watching it with my father and the guy that I'm dating right now. And I was a little uneasy, I have to admit, a little bit with my dad watching some of it. Like, I just was like thinking to myself, what is he thinking right now? Right. But then like just the energy and the excitement and their moves and just the performance overall, I literally just wanted to get up and dance with them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. I have to say, watching it in Mexico, of course, they were going crazy proud. I was standing up the whole time. I mean, it was so inspiring. And to me, it's that message, especially in the Latino world too, right? You can be strong and powerful and be sexy. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think as women, we need to support that. If that's your choice, absolutely. Why not? We allow people their choices in other things. Why not that same choice that I am strong and I am smart and I may dress feminine and I may dress what to you seems sexy, or I may decide to cover up entirely, but that's our choice. And I think that they were representing their culture. When Shakira did the tongue, that was from her Middle Eastern heritage, a call, like me being Armenian, Middle Eastern, like I was like, yes, sister. So, I mean, I thought that it's sad to hear, especially when I see it from women, the backlash against other women and judgment from them.
And it was a lot of backlash. I was surprised, just to kind of look at the feeds and see all the comments that were being made, not in support of them.
Twitter's an ugly place sometimes. Social media can be a really ugly place. And I agree. And we deal with this just being a first lady and just being a woman in the working world, is to have the ability to do whatever you want, your choice, to shake my pom-poms on Sundays and then to be able to go Monday morning and sit at a conference table and take my seat.
Yeah.
That should be celebrated.
That's what we're fighting
should be
for, right?
celebrated. Yeah. I can see where the poll may have gotten a little backlash, but then again, J-Lo was celebrating her role in an award-winning movie with The Hustlers, so I understand there were parts of it that made sense.
And it was the choreography was wonderful, the orchestration of all the different movements, like you said, her daughter coming up. Yeah. I think that at times camera angles can be bad, and we've suffered with that in cheerleading, where that camera angle was not what was meant to happen, and that is also the production's fault as well. So I think the blame goes straight to the woman. Last year when Maroon 5 performed and Adam Levine, there were comments like, ooh, he should have taken more clothes off. Well, why is he celebrated for being shirtless or, not wearing clothes, or we want to see more women, but yet when your sister does it, exactly, it's not acceptable.
Yeah, and they're getting backlash for not singing, which is crazy because I've done a pregame and I can barely breathe. So I cannot imagine doing a 10-minute routine, jumping around, outfit changes with dancers.
Yeah.
Plus, let's talk about the acoustics and the audio. Like, to have the quality of that performance.
Yeah.
I just think it's sad that we're not celebrating each other, and that is a time that we as women need to really support one another.
And I wonder, like you said it, like, why is that? Like, why is there this disconnect, whereas we see it as empowering and uplifting and just something to be proud of? I mean, the fact, first of all, that they're in their 40s and 50s, like J-Lo is 50 and can still move that way.
The bar has been set.
I know. And instead of us celebrating that and lifting them up and being proud for what we saw and what they, did very tastefully.
Yes.
Somehow we figured out a way to poke holes at it and say that it wasn't, and another thing too, let me get your opinion on this one, just as far as it being kid friendly. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know that I saw a lot of comments around just not wanting to have their children watch that at halftime. I
mean, you're talking about the woman that their kids go to the calendar trip. So they've been around women and, I guess to me, and I don't know, I may be too personal here, but, I don't necessarily cover up at home. And to me, that's because it's just normal. It's life. It's being a human. And when you start to create weird barriers, it makes things weird. And then, you're setting the tone. That's the parent, I think, almost setting the tone. Because if you communicate it, if they had a question afterwards, well, why was she wearing that, mommy? Or why? Talk about it. Say, well, maybe in the Hispanic culture, that is acceptable to be strong and sexy, and educate them. We're talking about African American history. Let's talk about Latino. Let's talk about Hispanic heritage, like appreciating what each culture has to offer and bring. And so I think a discussion with your child is all you probably need to do. I mean, I'm not sure what they thought was going to happen, if the kid was going to have bad dreams or something.
Right.
But no, my kids are fine. And they'll just be like, Mommy, why are they in their underwear? You know, and I'm like, well, it's really not underwear. I mean, she has like pantyhose on and you could like, you can't see anything, or, you know, you just answer the questions. It's about talking and letting them know it's okay to talk.
Right, and okay to express yourselves in various different ways. You know, like as adults, as children, we express ourselves through speech. We express ourselves through our sports, through dancing, you know, through singing. Like there's just so many different ways of expression. And it really was, to me, an art form. And I really wanted to come out of retirement and start dancing again. Like I actually texted my girls and was like, all right, who's ready to be a backup dancer
I just
for
talked
J-Lo?
about that the other day. I was like, who's in for pole classes?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I joke about it too, but it's like our Barbies and your superheroes, they have different costume changes. And when you put those on your dolls, they're encompassing and owning a different character. And that is what performing is. And that's a conversation that with your children, I don't have any yet, but that is something that I hope as generations evolve and dialogue and these things happen, that will become part
and
of
you're
the
raising
thing.
more accepting people. Here we go again, raising people that can accept things that aren't what is the norm in their family's opinion, you know?
It's no different than, I mean, it's a little different. I don't think we have, you know, Haskin out there, but it's on the field in a different costume. But it's when the players put on their uniform, they're owning a character and they are owning their own powers and talent and honing it in. And that's what those women were doing on that stage, is they were celebrating their talent and skills. And I think we should be celebrating that more and owning that more and not apologizing for it.
Absolutely.
And if anything, this started the conversation. So.
Right. And I think for all of our listeners and viewers, you know, really thinking about what power are you owning? You know, what power are you owning and then sharing with other people? And then also, what are your superpowers that you're hiding? And think about, why are you hiding those superpowers, right? Because if it is a power that's been put into you, it's been put there for a reason. And we need to make sure that society and social media and all the negativity and maybe your fear and your doubt, we don't want those things to prevent us from being the authentic women that we are. And I feel like that halftime show with those performers really shows women that you can be your authentic self. You can be powerful, you can be bold, you can be intelligent, and you can be sexy. And all of that is acceptable because that's who we are as women.
Exactly. Amen.
Preach. Just like, yes, ma'am. And on the same lines of celebrating empowered women, I want to plug again that we are talking with Melanie Johnson next week, who is the president and CEO of MGM National Harbor, and we are celebrating African American history this month. So thank you so much for listening to The Wow, and we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
Redskins fans, this is Darryl Green. After 20 years of being privileged to don the burgundy and gold on the football field, I've added another team's colors to my collection. For the past 16 years, I've proudly adopted the green and blue of Main Street Bank. Whether I'm using their simple-to-use mobile banking or dealing with their incredibly helpful staff, Main Street Bank always makes things easy for me and all of their customers. To find out all the ways they can help you, visit us at mstreetbank.com, member FDIC.
Dear customer service, I can always count on Novak. My power is always on, my payments always go through, and Novak actually cares about the community they serve.
Dear Novak, your electric costs are reasonable. Some electricity is from alternative sources, and cost reductions are passed along during the year. Thanks.
Novak, power you can count on.
Are uninvited pests ruining your plans? Let PMSI, the pest control partner of the Washington Redskins, handle it for you. Call today for your free inspection, and they'll work around your schedule to provide you the best solution possible to defend your home territory against pests of all kinds, including mold. Visit mypmsi.com for the game plan to control the pests on your home turf. That's mypmsi.com.
At Coke, our 67,000 U.S. employees make things that make your game days better, like fertilizer for greener turf and stronger paper products for tailgating. Viewing the game from your couch? Coke also makes the electronic components in TVs and smart devices so you can watch your Redskins victory anywhere. Coke, we make that See it all at KOCHmakesthat.com. That's CokeMakesThat.com.